Hi there, everyone, and welcome to today's 10 Capital Life Science Syndicate. I'm Kat Delgadillo, here to co-host our event with our CEO, Hall Martin, who's going to give you a little bit more information about what we do here at 10 Capital. Hall?
Thank you, Kat, and welcome everybody to another great event here at TEN Capital, where we have some great presenters today. Before we jump into that, let's talk more about TEN Capital and who we are. At heart, we help startups and investors connect for funding. We help startups get their pitch deck and presentation ready. We build due diligence reports. We do AI analytics on the deal to prepare them for meeting investors. And so at heart, we're doing the legwork, saving time and money in finding and funding for the startup. Next slide. We also help form capital for the early stage ecosystem. We help high net worth start and run family offices. We help VC funds find limited partners, mostly through family offices. And then we help angel groups find members. And so with that, we're bringing more capital to bear upon the early stage ecosystem. Next slide. So we have 4 online events each month. We have a family office roundtable. It's a 2-hour session on topics relevant to those who are starting and running a family office. We also have one virtual quick pitch, which is for tech companies. Each company gets 10 minutes to pitch, 5 minutes of Q&A, and then there's breakout rooms at the end. We have a Life Science Syndicate, which is the one we're in today, which focuses more on the life science track. And then we have an investor education session, which we show all kinds of deals there. And we have an investor education topic. And finally, we have an in-person event that we run as well. We'll be in Dallas tomorrow. We'll be in the Bay Area September 19th. We'll be in New York City October 16th. We'll be in Santa Monica probably November 18th. And then we will be in Houston on December 2nd. These are half-day events. If you're in those areas, we'd love to have you come out. If you want to learn more about our events, just go to tencapital.group, click on the events button, and you can see all the events we have coming up. It's about 8 weeks out. Next slide. If you're a startup, please take a picture of that QR code and fill out the form. We'll follow up to see if if our program is a good fit for your fundraise and have a discussion about that. We've had companies, of all kinds come through. We're sector agnostic. I will say we're heavy on life science and tech companies currently, but have energy and other deals coming through as well. Next slide. We will have a survey at the end. We appreciate you giving us some feedback on the deal itself. So please, by all means, fill that out and let us know what we can do to improve and get your feedback. Next slide. So as we were discussing earlier, we have a chatbot called Ava, which is an AI system that we built. We have been running an Investor Connect podcast program for over 10 years, have over 850 interviews with angel VCs and family offices. We've also write a blog post called the Startup Funding Espresso. It's a micro blog post and 300 words or less. It comes out every day, and you can learn something about startup funding and investing. We've done over 2,500 of these so far, and we've captured all of that into the Ava system, and we have additional analytical tools that we put into that. So let's hear more about Ava and how it works.
Hi there. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Ava, your personal AI venture assistant. I'm your new best friend in the world of investing in startups, the 10 Capital AI chatbot. I'm here to make your journey through the startup ecosystem easier, faster, and a lot more fun. Need help finding your next big investment? Or maybe you're a founder looking for fundraising tips? I've got you covered. I pull all my knowledge from over 500 blogs, countless podcasts, and even some nifty calculators, like the How Fundable Is Your Startup tool, to give you the answers you need. So how do I work? Easy. You simply go to where I live on startupfundingespresso.com and look for me in the bottom right. As soon as I appear, go ahead and click on me to let me know you're here. And then there you go. All your questions answered at your fingertips. Whether you're into health tech, biotech, life sciences, or any of the other exciting fields out there, I'm equipped to help you navigate the trends, challenges, and opportunities in each one. Got a question? Just ask. And guess what? I even pull insights from the 10 Capital Network podcast on Investor Connect. It's packed with expert advice, success stories, and more, all designed to help you succeed in the venture capital world. So what are you waiting for? Let's chat. I'm here 24/7 to help you find the right answers, connect with great opportunities, and make the most out of your investments. See you on startupfundingespresso.com.
Great. So before we jump into our presentations, let's meet our panelists. We have two today. We have first with us, we have Brian Sperling. Brian, can you tell us more about yourself and your work?
Well, first of all, thank you, Hall, and 10 Capital team. My name is Brian Sperling. I'm a urologist by training. I've been practicing for about 15 years. About 5 years ago, I got into longevity investing and morphed into health tech investing. So I've been looking at startup companies, invested in a bunch of startup companies, and watching them grow. And so, again, thank you for having me here.
Great. Thank you for joining us. And also we have David Vulcano. David, can you tell us more about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hey, thanks a lot for having me here. Name is David Vulcano. My day job, so to speak, is as the Vice President for Clinical Research and Compliance and Integrity for HCA Healthcare, going clinical trials, big data research, AI research, health outcome research, things like that. I serve as the president of the Society for Clinical Research Sites, which is the trade association for research sites, and other industry leadership roles in the industry. I'm an active angel investor. I personally do not invest in healthcare or life science because that would present conflicts of interest for me and the companies. But I work with a syndicate, Music City Angels and Community Equity Partners, that do also invest heavily in life science and healthcare related tech companies.
Great. Thank you for that. So our first presenter is going to be Lorenzo Soletti of Renerva. Lorenzo, go ahead and launch your slides and kick off when ready. He'll have 10 minutes to present, and then we'll have our panelists ask the questions. If those in the audience have a question, please put it in the chat box and I'll call that out. So kick off whenever you're ready, Lorenzo.
Yeah, thank you for having me. My name is Lorenzo Soletti. I'm president and CEO of Renerva. Renerva's mission is to develop technologies for peripheral nerve injuries. We are solving, excuse me, it's not moving, okay. We're solving a 2.2 billion pain point that is literally affecting millions of amputees, which is painful neuroma. This condition can affect any patient that has been subjected to a nerve injury, especially amputees, cause tremendous impact on quality of life, productivity, and even opioid use disorder. Our first product is fully developed at this time. It's a nerve capping device for nerves that have been transected, so critically injured, like in the case of amputations. The technology has been tested in multiple animal studies. The latest of one have been published in High Impact Factor Journal and has shown a tremendous impact in reducing the development of neuroma and the pain associated with neuroma. The technology is protected by 3 families of patent, the first of which in the US has been issued recently. And we've also received favorable freedom to operate analysis in the United States. The technology works in a simple manner through a proprietary matrix that allows the nerve that has been critically transected to grow within the device, but then to be essentially slowed down until a complete interruption of growth as the device degrades over time. And when the device is fully degraded in 8 to 12 weeks, the device does no longer exist and the nerve does no longer grow. We have tested these up to 2 months after full device degradation. We have spoken with many physicians, many of which are enthusiastic about testing the technology. We even propose in our clinical trial to test the technology against the best standard of care solution that is currently available. The value for them would be to offer better outcome for their patients. For patients, the value is intuitive. For providers like hospital system that would purchase the product would see a better profitability as dedicated reimbursement codes are in place. And most importantly, insurance company will see a significant reduction in total cost of care with the use of the device. The market segment in the neuroma prevention and treatment are essentially these two, the largest of which is the prevention, which represent about a $2 billion opportunity in the United States. Combined, these two markets represent about $6 billion globally. The device, the PNM CAP device, will position itself as the affordable, easy to use, and highly effective combination of properties that are sorely missing in the space, where either solutions are easy to use and widely adopted but are not showing efficacy, or they are very seldom used and they're effective, but they're so complicated and costly that only less than 3% of patients receive them. The regulatory path for the PNM cap is streamlined, is going to be a 510K market clearance with no need for clinical data. We will leverage existing reimbursement strategies about market entry, and we will pursue and speed track our dedicated reimbursement through a breakthrough designation. We are a team of dedicated professionals with more than 150 years of cumulative experience in their respective functional areas. We have on board on our board of directors Pete DiComo, who has led the successful exit of 2 medical device companies, the last which is A-Lung in 2021. We have a medical advisory team composed of key opinion leaders in the field of plastic reconstructive, neurosurgeon with specialty in peripheral and peripheral nerve research. These are the highest key opinion leaders worldwide recognized. Our timeline is pretty streamlined, and we are pretty advanced with regard to our future milestone. We are currently raising a bridge to Series A round that will allow us to essentially perform a clinical trial on 10 patients, for which we are receiving FDA authorization in the next 2 months. And we also will receive market clearance in a completely independent fashion from the clinical trial within a year from now through the 510K. We plan to raise a Series A of $10 million, which will allow the company to reach positive cash flow. And we expect the Series A to be the last investment needed prior to seeking an exit through a strategic acquisition. We have experienced a very high momentum in the past few months. We have published a high impact factor paper in NPJ Regenerative Medicine with the tremendous efficacy that we've shown in 2 different animal studies. We have, as I mentioned earlier, received a notice of allowance for one of our patents, the first one protecting broadly the technology. We are awaiting IDE approval from the FDA in the next 60 days. And we have also recently received notification that we will receive almost $1 million in additional non-dilutive funding, which will be used to complete the tests required for 510K submission, which we plan to do in Q1 of 2026 to receive market clearance in Q3 2026. We are raising a bridge to Series A round with very favorable terms for our investors. The round has not been officially launched yet. It will open on September 1st and will close on October 31st. We have already received soft commitment from our existing investor in excess of $160,000. The round will be used to complete the 10-patient first-in-man study that will be conducted at Ohio State University with key opinion leader Amy Moore as the principal investigator. We will also complete the official testing for the 510K submission, which I mentioned earlier is completely independent from the clinical trial. We will also file and receive market clearance in Q3 of 2023. Most importantly, these funds will allow us to raise our Series A, which will be used, as I mentioned, to launch the product in the United States and reach profitability within 2 years from launch. The terms are very favorable. And in summary, this is a large market, and we have a highly effective product with promising and strong IP. We are in negotiation in prosecution with the FDA for a market for a FDA for a clinical trial approval, and we will submit a clearance next year. We have very favorable terms. So we believe in a future where no amputee suffer from neuroma pain, because relief should be simple, affordable, and available to all. So let's try to rewrite the future of post-amputation pain, one patient at a time. Thank you very much for your time. I'm happy to answer any question at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Brian, what's your first question?
Lorenzo, thank you for the presentation. Answered some questions. I had gotten a chance to see your deck beforehand. One question I didn't hear answer to was, what is the matrix made of, and is that part of the IP that you have? I know some of your competitors do use a porcine model. How does yours differ from that?
It's a very good question. Let me show you really quick. I have a slide for you. Our product is indeed porcine of origin, which is the same animal source of the Axogen Axoguard nerve cap, which is our main competitor on the market currently. The technology is very different from the Axoguard, even though at first sight they look very similar. Our product is made of porcine nerve. So essentially the fundamental structure is a porcine nerve to be used as a nerve application, whereas the origin of the device from Axoguard is gastrointestinal, so is small intestine submucosa. The main difference is that our competitive product is a hollow chamber, essentially, that allows the nerve, as you can see here, to essentially grow within this chamber uninterrupted. And we strongly believe, based on preclinical data published, that their technology only delays the onset of neuroma, which is essentially this spaghettification or entanglement of axons, whereas our proprietary matrix compartmentalizes the axon in dedicated longitudinal channel, which prevent inter and intra-axonal entanglement, which is one of the fundamental mechanism on neuroma formation. There's another competitive product called the Allay, based on polyethylene glycol polymer. It's a very simple polymer that has been in surgical application for a long time. It's essentially a solid hydrogel. We believe their product does not effectively allow the nerve to grow within, but is essentially a wall and a deflection, which could cause nerve bunching and escape from the device itself.
Great. And David, what's your first question?
Thanks. First, Lorenzo, great job. You covered all the major stuff very, very well. I am a little confused on your regulatory strategy there. You said you're going for a 510K, but then you also said you're applying for an IDE, which would imply you're going on the PMA regulatory pathway. Which one are you? You're definitely going for the 510K and not the PMA?
Yeah, there is no uncertainty. Let me explain it a little better.
Okay.
So your confusion derived from the notion that I mentioned an IDE, or investigation device exemption, which is
Correct.
a request for a clinical trial authorization pre-market. The reason why we're doing so, and we're using the expedite path, which is called feasibility IDE. So this is not a full-blown IDE, it's a feasibility IDE, which is reserved for performing early feasibility studies. This, as I mentioned earlier, is a completely independent strategy from our 510K submission. So the device will be regulated as a Class 2 medical device. Our competitor product, for example, the Axoguard product, has been cleared as a Class 2 device, and it's going to be our predicate device, and has been cleared without any clinical data. So we will not require any clinical data for our 510K submission. We expect a 6 months review period. However, why are we performing a pre-market clinical trial? Because we are trying to anticipate the need for clinical data. We are based on very rigorous evidence-based, essentially rationale and approach, and we are aware that it's going to be critically important to generate robust clinical data as soon as possible in order to speed track adoption and have a major adoption inflection point. So that's why right now, even before being ready to submit the full regulatory package for market clearance, we are submitting an early feasibility request for testing this in humans, which we believe we can have our first patient in December this year. So before the end of the year, we will enroll the first patient in the trial. So I'm sorry if I wasn't clear, but these are completely independent strategies.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Let's go back to Brian. You have time for one more question, Brian, and then back to you, David. Brian, what's your second question?
So the other question I have is, what else do you guys have in the pipeline, or is this the thought process?
Yes, it's a great point. Let me show you. Renerva has developed a pipeline of products. Our PNM cap is just the first that is the most ripe for commercialization. As I mentioned, we have other 3 products on our pipeline. The first one is an injectable hydrogel that is meant to accelerate the recovery, so accelerate the healing of the nerve. So quite the opposite. The first product is a neuroinhibitory technology, which is aimed at slowing down and preventing the nerve of the growth and the development of neuroma, the growth of the nerve and the development of neuroma, whereas the gel is intended to be neuroinductive, so accelerate the repair after a nerve injury. We also have a device called sutureless neurorrhaphy device. There's a little bit of momentum in the market for this type of device. And we also have a nerve graft, which is the least developed, a nerve graft conduit hybrid. We have IP for all of this. The most developed at this stage is the gel, which is actually almost fully developed. We have published and we have very significant IP. We have actually 5 different families of patent covering about 30 US and international patents for this technology. All of this published work is available online. And that's essentially our pipeline. Cumulatively, this is the nerve repair market is an additional 3 billion global market. So it's smaller than the neuroma prevention market, but combines into almost a 10 billion total market for all of the technology that the company is developing.
Any follow-on question there, Dave?
Go over your sales strategy once you get clearance. How are you going to get this in the hands of the physicians? Are you building your own sales force? Are you contracting it out? What's the sales and marketing strategy?
Yes, absolutely. So the goal of Renerva, especially because I mentioned that the Series A would be the last financing prior to an exit, would be an exit enabling financing, is to obtain, I'd say, early market validation. For implantable medical device these days, the bar is really high for acquisition. So we are very aware that market validation, essentially the end of the line, is necessary, however, in a small scale. So how are we intending to pursue and to reach market validation is by essentially maintaining our lean footprint that has characterized it. And so we will contract, for example, the distribution and the sale with small specialty distributors. These are specialized salespeople that carry a variety of portfolio product between 10 and 30 products that are usually localized, and they are delivered in a limited geographic area, in an area of specialization. So we will leverage this contract sales force to start, which will come at a price is about 20 to 30%. The cost of sale, and we will roll out our go-to-market strategy in 2 phases, starting from specialized physician in the first year of deployment that really understand the need and and are eager to test the product. And then once we conquer this initial level of market of customer segment, we will focus on the general population of surgeon, which is the majority that perform amputation, which we will leverage the influence from the specialized surgeons.
Got it. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Great presentation. That's our 15 minutes. So great questions, guys. And let's move to our next presenter at Combat Medical. Jenna, go ahead and kick off when you're ready.
Let me get sharing here. All right, are we okay?
We see it now. You're good to go.
Brilliant. Hi, good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. I'm Jenna Pelorti. I'm the CFO for Combat Medical. We have developed a hypothermic drug delivery platform that significantly improves clinical outcomes. We've demonstrated this in phase 2 and other high-quality real-world clinical trials that we are 50% better than the best reported clinical outcomes. We are already selling and profitable. To date, we've raised 20 million, and in this investment round, we're raising 5 million with 2.7 already committed. The problem: there is no innovation that is effective, affordable, and tolerable in the world's most expensive cancer. We're looking at bladder cancer. So we've been around for some time. We've generated revenues of over 4 million in 2024. We have a positive EBITDA. We've completed over 100,000 procedures. We're actively sold in over 35 countries. We have over 40 clinical publications, several key patents, and it's a platform technology that can be applied to multiple cancers. And lastly, we recently launched our FDA-reviewed bladder trial. What you see here is a bladder cancer patient in an outpatient setting who has hypothermic chemotherapy recirculating in a closed loop via our innovative system, catheter, and disposable kit. It's an outpatient procedure, so there's no anesthesia. The patient will get up and leave at the end of this treatment. It's targeted and safe. We have low to no side effects, no systemic side effects. It's powered by our aluminum heat exchanger to provide precise heating. The pressure is tightly controlled, meaning that the patient is comfortable and the treatment is tolerable. We have fewer bladder spasms. It's user-friendly and fits in within existing clinical practices. A single nurse can operate 4 systems at a time, meaning the throughput of patients is quite quick, and it can be used with many drugs. So why hypothermia? Cancer cells are more fragile than healthy cells. They do not handle heat as well. The hypothermia activates the natural killer cells to target the heat-stressed cancer cells and build a lasting immune memory. So we're not an immunotherapy drug, but there is an immune response where the body has learned and remembered and therefore continues to fight the cancer after treatment. We enhance the cancer killing by up to 10 times. The chemotherapy drugs, we make the chemotherapy drugs more potent and effective. It increases the concentration of chemotherapy at the tumor site. It improves the drug penetration and directly damages the DNA of the cell. So a standard patient journey. A patient is diagnosed with bladder cancer. It is surgically removed by a TURBT. The patient will then undergo 1 to 3 years of immunotherapy or chemotherapy treatments. 80% of all patients will have a recurrence. 50% of these patients will recur in the first year. This cycle will continue over and over until it's no longer sustainable. This is what makes bladder cancer one of the most expensive cancers to treat. At the end of this, most patients will either have their bladder removed. This leads to a lifetime of incontinence care. They'll have a stoma, they lose loss of sexual function. It's really quite an aggressive way to go. The combat treatment, again, we start with patient diagnosis. There is surgical removal of the cancer. It is then followed by 15 HIVEC treatments. HIVEC treatments have a reduced recurrence rate and a reduced progression rate, meaning the cancer comes back fewer times, and when it does come back, it doesn't come back more progressed. This leads to many more bladders being saved. Oh, excuse me. So here we have this publication of Compact's HIVEC results in patients that have failed the standard of care treatment. Next step here would be to remove the bladder. This is the same group of patients that we're focusing on in our FDA trial. These are 54 of the worst disease patients and the hardest to treat. With them, we achieved a 70% complete response rate at 12 months. Same patient group, they have failed the current standard of care. This is another publication from Cologne University. Again, we're showing on and around a 70% complete response rate at 12 months. Outside of the American and European guideline recommendations, the Global Committee on Bladder Cancer is the most powerful group of urologists worldwide. They have recommended hypothermia as an option when the standard of care treatment has failed and patients refuse to have their bladder removed. This chart compares combat against some of the other treatments on the market. Importantly, it shows that there is a 92% complete response rate at 3 months and a 70% complete response rate at 12 months. The current benchmark for FDA approval is a complete response rate of 30% at 3 months. So to put it into perspective, with combat, 7 out of 10 patients are still cancer-free a year after treatment. And if we compared that to J&J's treatment, only 4 of their patients are cancer-free after a year. This slide highlights the interest and value of the bladder cancer market. Here we have Merck, who have projected some high sales growth into the billions. They're showing a 19% complete response rate at 12 months. We have Ferring, who showed a 24% complete response rate at 12 months. Immunity Bio, listed on the NASDAQ at just over $2 billion. They're showing a 36% complete response rate at 12 months. Johnson & Johnson, again, estimating high annual sales, showing a 44% complete response rate at 12 months. And CG Oncology, with a valuation of just under $2 billion, they're showing a 46% complete response rate at 12 months. Here a bit on the potential market. We're showing the SAM, the U.S. Serviceable Obtainable Market, the SOM. You're looking at roughly 10,000 patients at 15 patients each. In the U.S., 15 treatments each. In the U.S., we do become a drug device combo, so the drug and the kit will be sold together. and we're looking at annual revenues of about 600 million. Our global TAM market is showing at just under 9 billion. And here we have another report that shows that the market is expected to surge quite large, showing just over 21 billion in 2034. We have put together a highly experienced team to advise us on our US FDA strategy, which has resulted in confirming our FDA pathway. This group is led by Jonathan Jarrow, an ex-professor of urology from Johns Hopkins. He spent 10 years in a senior position at the FDA and was responsible for establishing the BCG unresponsive FDA clinical trial requirements, which is what we're following for our HIVEC FDA application. Behind him, we're working with recognized leaders in the field, including Hyman and Phelps and ICON for regulatory, and King and Spalding for reimbursement. Following advice from King and Spalding, we believe that we will gain our own J code, which means that we can establish our own pricing for a new drug device combination in the US market, and we expect each patient to be worth about $60,000. We've had several meetings with the FDA confirming that the clinical trial meets the requirements. Our pathway is a 505(b)(2). The trial is expecting to recruit its first patient any day now, with interim results in 2026. This will give us a valuation inflection point, and we expect final FDA approval in 2029. If the results are in line with our published data, Combat's HIVEC treatment will become the global standard of care. Here's our model. We follow a razor blade model. We sell the single-use disposable kits to deliver the treatment, and the capital system is given free of charge to the end user. We have a product mix of roughly 90% single-use kits and 10% capital systems. This shows a sustainable and repeatable business. A gross margin for Combat is about 80% and 30 to 50% for our distributors. We have a robust manufacturing and supply chain ready for global expansion, and our sales are projected to exceed 500 million by 2032. We have an experienced senior management team. Both the CEO and the original founder are serial entrepreneurs. They have a track record of creating and developing new medical devices and treatments and taking them to market and exit. We also have a very who's who of bladder cancer and hypothermia. We're working with some of the best KOLs globally, including Professor Brant Intman, who is based in the US, as well as Professor Peter Black. So the problem, there is no innovation that is effective, affordable, and tolerable in the world's most expensive cancer. Now has HIVEC. We are 70% cancer-free after 1 year. This compares to 19 to 46% with the competition. In the EU, patients are about 5,000 per patient. In the US, it's 60,000. This compares to patients, to the cost per patient could be over $500,000 for some of the competitors. We have low side effects. We're seeing high side effects with some of the other uses, and this includes death. We've completed over 100,000 treatments. Some of the competition haven't even completed 10,000 treatments in total. Our pathway to success is clear and simple. We complete our 5 million investment, which gives Combat the runway beyond our FDA trial. We complete the ongoing FDA trial with similar results to what we have already demonstrated, and this will give rise to a massive valuation inflection point in 2027. Combat has already established a track record with robust, growing, and a profitable business. We've raised 20 million to date. The funds that we're raising now will be used to support our FDA trial that has already started. We have established and continue to have discussions with potential acquirers, J&J, Boston Scientific, Teleflex. We could consider an early sale and exit of the bladder business in 2027. We would keep some back to continue the R&D in our peritoneal, colorectal, and ovarian cancer business. However, because we have a platform technology for multiple cancers and we already have traction, all options for global expansion are open to us, including potential IPO or debt financing. And lastly, another visual of our timeline, our expected timeline, some of what we completed already and where we plan on going over the next 4 to 5 years. Thank you very much.
Great presentation, Jenna. Let's start with you, David. What's your first question?
Jenna, thanks much. I'm a little bit confused as to about exactly what you have. I mean, you mentioned that you have great outcomes, you have expert opinions, 100,000 use cases on this. You have 4 million in revenue, you're EBITDA positive, but you're in an R&D phase for this. So what do you have multiple products? What is your revenue on versus what is still in R&D that needs to go forward?
Sure. So let me see if I can jump us to, here we go. So these are the two products that are currently on the market. The smaller one on the left-hand side is our bladder product. This one is actively on the market. It's what we're using to support our, it's the treatment that we're using for our FDA trial, but it is already actively sold. It did 3.3 million in revenues. This is all outside of the US, mostly Europe. We have some other countries as well. We're in India, South Africa, Australia. But this is the primary product. It delivers the high-vec treatment. So it's the hypothermia bladder treatment via that catheter. You saw the video of the patient that was receiving the treatment. The taller product on the side is our peritoneal high-PEC treatment. This is used to deliver hypothermic chemotherapy treatments into the peritoneal cavity. So this is a much more intense treatment. It's done after about an 8 to 12 hour surgery. Here, a patient will go into theater. They'll have their peritoneal cavity open. A surgeon will remove all of the cancer. They'll then, at the end of that, use our treatment where the catheters are placed at the bottom of the abdomen. We insert CO2 into the patient's abdomen and recirculate hypothermic chemotherapy to increase the outcomes. These are the two active devices on the market. And then on top of this, we have done some R&D work. We have some R&D in the pipeline for ovarian and colorectal cancer. To date, we've received about 4 million in grant funding to support those. The colorectal treatment is a highly specialized balloon catheter that will isolate sections of the colon and deliver chemotherapy to the targeted areas in the colon. And the ovarian cancer treatment is another way of delivering regular chemotherapy treatments via a catheter that's left in situ in the patient for after they've had the peritoneal, after they've had the high-PEC treatment, a catheter that's left in situ for, I believe, up to 6 months, but I'll have to double check the time.
All right, I want to get Brian top for his question, so thanks.
Go ahead, Brian.
As you can imagine, I have a lot of questions that I would
Right,
ask, but
I did see your background. I'll remind you, I'm the
Breakout rooms,
CFO, so anything
yeah, no.
incredibly
I'm not going to
clinical.
get too technical, actually, because to me, the availability of this in an office-based, a small community hospital, which is like I practicing, what are the limitations that you're seeing in the deployment of this? Because we don't have a hood to mix the chemo agents. We don't have. So how is it able to be deployed? Is it like a contained unit where my staff isn't going to be exposed or mixing the mitomycin, and then obviously we're going to need a disposal unit? Do I need a negative pressure room? So like, what is the practicality of deploying it in a non-academic university hospital setting?
Ooh, I'm going to have to get back to you to answer all of those questions. I'm not quite sure how the mixing goes. When it comes to providing our system outside of the US, we only provide the system and the catheter. The mechanisms that the clinicians use to prepare the drug, I'm not familiar with. Now, in the US, we will become a drug device combo where we will have to package the drug with the device, and we are currently looking into exactly how that work and what the packaging will look like. As far as deploying the system itself and what we do now, it's pretty simple, actually. The training for this system only takes about a half hour. Any nurse that's familiar with catheterizing a patient is able to be trained half an hour to an hour. We usually send someone to train them. From there, with just a small bit of practice, they're usually able to run multiple systems quite quickly. So it's not a full answer to your question, but hopefully enough to.
Great. Well, that's our 15 minutes. We do have breakout rooms, so hopefully we can reconnect there to go further into it. Appreciate that, Jenna. Great presentation. And now we move to our third presentation today, Angiex. If you guys could launch your slides and kick off when you're ready. Jeff, thanks for joining. If you launch your slides and kick off when ready.
All right, great. Well, thanks everybody for carving out some time. I do want to tell you about a biotech company that's very exciting. It's called Angiex. It's in a very...
we don't see the slides yet, though.
You can't see my slides? Okay.
Make sure we got the share screen going there.
Yeah, I had it. Hang on. Try it again. Yeah, I had it in the back room, I think.
Uh-oh. I see it. It's coming up now. So
There
we'll
we
give it a
go.
moment and kick off when you get to full screen mode. You're good to go.
Good to go. Hang on. Let's do the intro again. Angiex Biotech Company, ADC space, very well-to-do modalities in terms of number of drugs approved in the last several years. It tops the chart. That's why it's a pretty hot modality right now. We're the only one in its class, and I'll tell you why in a second. So TM4SF1, we are an ADC directed at TM4SF1, and we're the only one of its kind right now. We are the mechanism for this. We've got three mechanisms of action for this ADC. One is because TM4SF1 regulates the growth of tumor vessels, blood vessels. We deprive, by eliminating those vessels, we deprive both oxygen and food to the tumor. We also, because of the way the ADC is designed, we eliminate the invasive and metastatic tumor activity as well, because we go into the nucleus and of the tumor cell and destroy it from the inside out. We also have some other anti-tumor immunity effects as well, similar to inflicting a wound. I'll go into that in a little bit more detail. Very strong patent portfolio here, deep moat, high fence. This was developed at Beth Israel Deaconess in Harvard for over 20 years. I'll give you the history in a second, but suffice to say the asset is very well protected and very well thought about. It's a highly rationalized product. We're in phase 1, and we're demonstrating both some efficacy signals by way of biology right now on our dose escalation scale, and we're also continuing to show really good safety of the drug. Commercial potential is very large here. I'll show you in a second the antigen profile of TM4SF1, but the fact that we've got three mechanisms of action all combining on a superior homing enables us to address a number of different tumors, and I'll take you through the ones that are our top priority right now as we head towards proof of concept. Lots of potential value creation. I didn't tell you about the deal that we're doing right now. We're doing a $10 million deal. It's already in the first 2 weeks, 50% subscribed. We just had a board meeting last night to upsize it to 15 million. And so that's the direction we're heading in. Certainly from an entry standpoint and our path towards liquidity access, it's fairly attractive from a value proposition. Anyway, so the ADC is a first-in-class ADC. What's the history of it? BMS had the only prior experience with TM4SF1. It was not humanized, and it had a radioisotope payload. But when they looked at it, and because it's a radioisotope payload, the antigen saturation was superior, and lots of good notes there. The team continued with TM4SF1, again, BI Harvard, and actually did an agreement with Pfizer. They continued to improve the ADC, but Pfizer had actually gotten out of the ADC space for a period of 8 years, and then all of a sudden dove in head first by the purchase of Seattle Genetics. Anyway, the team had taken it, started Angiex after that experience, and spent 5 years rationalizing the design to do a lot of things that made this ADC superior to all of the other iterations. I won't go through that in detail, but we can talk about it a little bit more in a breakout room. Mechanism of action, eliminating blood vessels to the tumor. You can see tumor shrinkage. We can shrink it to the size of a pinhead, and then the other mechanisms of action kick in. Here's in terms of TM4SF1 antibody, here's the antigen graphic. You can see in blue TM4SF1, the expression is, is larger across many solid tumors versus any of the other antibodies. And some of these are being used with current ADCs approvals for HER2 and then TROP2 as well. And you can see how consistent we are, and that just depicts the size of the potential addressable market. So where are we now? I told you we're phase 1 dose escalation. We've got 3 cohorts. One is all comers for monotherapy. The other monotherapy is this one. This, we believe, angiosarcoma stands to reason. Orphan, really a rare disease, orphan indication. This is our path to proof of concept to really demonstrate our molecule, and while we accumulate data in the other monotherapy cohort, which is all comers for solid tumors. The other cohort is we're doing a combination arm with checkpoints. That mechanism is the infliction, as I told you earlier, in terms of a wound. Basically, it turns cold tumors into hot tumors and enables the checkpoint inhibitors to be more effective where they're already approved and more effective where they haven't been approved because of the tumors are a little cold. We can do it across PD-L1 and CTLA-4. And these are just preclinical models and testing that depicts that. Here are the three cohorts. The point here is really because we've got 18 patients in, we've got 4 patients right now at our 4.5 level. The significance of that is we're just on the cusp of where we believe, based on the BMS data, we're right on the cusp of the 6.7 mg per kg level that BMS showed was very effective in terms of antigen saturation. So we believe our RP2D will be somewhere in there. We feel we'll be able to identify, given enrollment, knock on wood, we just signed up MD Anderson today as a site. We'll get there. Also, monotherapy angiosarcoma, we're working with MSK in New York, getting them signed up, and they also have some concentration along with MD Anderson of specialists in angiosarcoma. So we're hoping to get some of this data here early first quarter 2026. Combination therapy, we just sent a purchase order for Pembro and Ipi, and we've got the protocol all set. We intend to get it to the sites in September and have it hopefully the first patient dosed in the October of 2025 timeframe. Value inflection, here's where we are today, 40 million private company, where others have demonstrated early clinical proof of concept and robust clinical proof of concept is anywhere in the 400 to $1 billion range. That's where we expect in spring of next year for our next inflection point to be. We have a bit more capital we've got to raise after this to get the BLA, but we are going to look at it very rationally in terms of both private market and public market opportunities. We are preparing the company to access the public market, and that would likely, if it's the option we choose, would likely be late 2026. So presents a potential access to liquidity for investors who get involved with us. The team, I'm actually the newest member of the team, but a lot of these folks have worked with the team for a while. Point them out because it's really their due diligence, which is very important here. Here's Brian Clark. He was CMC head at Immunogen, right, which was a big sale. You saw it in the previous slide. And then, of course, Morris Rosenberg is an all-star in the ADC space, both Immunomedics and Seattle Genetics. He was a head of CMC there as well. They all did their own due diligence here. Ian Dukes is an OrbiMed partner, but as importantly, his past operating experience on the BD side is very important. Of course, Paul, he's co-founder with his wife, So Sheng, who has been working with this molecule for over 20 years with Hal Dvorak, the father of VEGF. And Paul's been working with the company. He's a multiple time exit entrepreneur, and Glenn Weiss is our CMO. Anyway, this is the financing that I told you about. We're just upsized it to 15, and we feel like there's an opportunity here for folks here to participate. These are the responses that we expect at the end of this runway of 15 million, which should create both a value inflection point and a financing window to put more money on the company at an uptick to current valuation. At this point, let me take any questions.
Let's start with Brian first. Great presentation, Jeff. Brian, what's your first question?
Jeff, I'm going to try to do a two-part here because I think it might be quick. Thank you again for the presentation. AGX 101, is that a unique drug? Because it's the TM 4SF1 molecule is usually a payload molecule. So is AGX 101 a new drug that we don't know about? Number two, the vascular injuries, what are we seeing in the early clinical stage stuff? I always worry about these vascular endothelial targeted things with long-term coronary artery disease, as injury is usually the nidus for coronary artery disease.
Yeah, both great questions. I'm going to go to TM4SF1 because that's actually the antibody. So it's the homing mechanism. That is very unique. We're the only ones working in the field on that. There's only 177 publications, most of it from our founders. Figuring out the biology took the bulk of that 20 years, and designing the ADC. So the payload's actually methanazine, which is off-the-shelf chemo. But what we've done here is we've done a site-specific conjugation where it's basically stealth until it goes into the nucleus of the tumor cell, and then it obliterates the tumor cell from there. So it's basically non-toxic until it gets there. Let me go to your second question, which is, here. Tumor cells and normal cells. So, certainly TM4SF1 affecting the vasculature, it is there. But this ratio shows a 20-to-1 ratio between the TM4SF1 expression and tumors, quickly dividing tumor cells versus the distant normal. And so, there's going to be a balance depending on which kind of tumor. And that's why when we look at some of the tumors that are a little bit more surrounded by vessels and healthy tissue, there may be a propensity to use the combination where we would use 2 mg per kg of our drug with Ipi and Pembro to get to those cells. So there's definitely going to be, as we learn more about the drug across various tumor types and in the comprehensiveness of those tumor types, there'll be some rational thinking on both, dosing and dose intervals.
Great. And David, what's your first question?
Sure. So thanks, Jeff. You did great on the science for being a CFO. If I heard you correctly, your exit strategy was going to public markets, which I'm assuming meaning IPO. And if I heard you correctly, you want to IPO by the end of 2026. So number one is that, are we too late in the game to plan for an IPO in 2026? And then number two, walk me through how you would think of an IPO being a company that's pre-revenue and years before getting the product to market.
Yeah, great,
Go
great
ahead and answer that, Jeff.
question.
Go ahead.
I'd love to answer. Uh, uh, so, so an IPO is two things. Really, it's access to liquidity for investors who may want to get out, but also my mind as a CFO and 25. I spent 25 years in investment banking, the first 10 at Goldman Sachs. It's a financing option with a cheaper cost of capital typically than the private market. But here's what, our overall strategy isn't an exit. It's not really an exit strategy for the company. It's a potential access to liquidity for the investors. Now, getting there is preparation. And you can see down here, right? This is our whole path to BLA approval. We plan on doing a co-development, co-commercialization with one of the bigger folks with feet on the ground, right? When we get closer to BLA, and that could potentially be, instead of a partnership, an acquisition. Now, in biotech, certainly concept companies sort of try to race to the market in 2020 through 2023. But the market's taken full swing backwards in terms of the pendulum to fundamental companies. Proof of concept in phase one going into phase two with registrational intent is a solid proof of concept where many institutional investors, including the crossovers who we may invite into this round, um, would support a public listing of a company. Our pre-money at that point, like I said, could be anywhere between 400 million and $1 billion if everything goes right and perfect execution. But yeah, companies can go, biotech companies with solid clinical proof of concept with the right support from investors and perhaps some pharma partners can certainly make it out to the public markets.
Thanks, Jeff.
Great. Well, that concludes our presentations for today. We do have breakout sessions. I encourage everybody to line up and go in and talk to these companies as well. We have them set up. I want to thank our panelists today. Brian Sperling, thank you for a great set of questions. And David as well, David Vulcano, thank you for joining us. And hope to see you guys in the breakout rooms as well. And looking forward to seeing you guys next time. For those in the audience, we hope you can join us for the breakout rooms. And then we look forward to seeing you again next month for our next Life Science Syndicate. With that, we'll go and wrap it up and see you in the rooms. Have a good one.